If you are a Bears fan, don't you want to just tell the players to just shut up and go out there and perform and beat the Packers? Stop talking about it in the offseason and go out there and actually do it, because 5 years and counting just isn't getting the job done. Players can continue to talk, can continue to give the Packers ammunition. I love it as a Packer fan. I'm going to get into the latest saga out of Chicago. Who's talking what? I'm sure you guys have seen it. We're also going to get into the latest news that's happening in Green Bay. So before we get into all of that, please take a second to hit the subscribe button. Okay, so let's get into it. What's the latest news coming out of Green Bay? As you know, Javon Bullard signs a 4-year, $6.7 million contract. He was just one of two remaining rookies yet to be signed. They get that done. Jordan Morgan, first-round pick out of Arizona, is the only other guy yet to be signed. But again, going back to Bullard's contract, 4 years, 6.7, $1.69 million signing bonus. He has a cap hit of 1.22 this season. And then first day of training camp is going to be July 22nd. I cannot wait for that to happen, especially when we start hearing stuff coming out of Chicago. I love it. It just makes me happy. So what's the latest news coming out of Chicago? I'm sure, again, you guys have all heard it or seen it. But if you haven't, it's worth checking out. It says right here, Caleb Williams revs up the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packer rivalry. To me, it's just hilarious that they keep calling this thing a rivalry, because yeah, it's not that. So the Packers have won 10 straight games and lost just 3 times to Chicago since 2010. The Bears brought in quarterback Caleb Williams to end that. However, this is what this article is saying out of Chicago. I love it. It goes on to say that Poles, has put his best foot forward by going and signing Caleb Williams, by going and getting wide receiver Odunze, Gerald Everett, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, making the offensive line better, yada, 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 yada. I love it. I think it's hilarious because you could sign whoever you want, but the fact of the matter is that you see it right here, certificate of ownership. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they owned Chicago for so many years, for so long. Since 2018 was the last time the Chicago Bears beat Green Bay, and they've been 2-18 over the last 20 games. I hardly call this a rivalry. Getting back to that article, it just talks about how how they're setting up polls, or I'm setting up Caleb Williams for success. And then they talked about Lovie Smith in this article, saying that, Lovie Smith, when he came in his introductory press conference, is that he declared that the Bears were going to beat Chicago, and that everybody from Chicago was all on board on that. They loved it. I would set your aspirations a little bit higher than just single-handedly just trying to beat one team out there. But as you may or may not have seen out there on Twitter, it says right here, Caleb Williams was loving the Green Bay sucks chant in a restaurant. If you didn't know, if you didn't see the article or see the video on Twitter, go and check it out. He's throwing his hands up, being like, Green Bay sucks. Yes, he's joining into that chant, which is just, I love it. As a Packer fan, I think this is just hilarious. If I were Poles, I would just be like, the next player that goes and starts talking trash, they're going to get fined. I'm getting sick of this, because earlier in the year, you had Montez Sweat talking trash, Preston Smith laughing at him. Last year, you had safety Jaquan Brisker for Chicago talking trash. You had lineman Justin Jones. You even had, Fields at one point in time was joining in on it, and now Caleb Williams. I think it's hilarious. To me, the humorous thing is how this article ends. It starts talking about how Aaron Rodgers, how he owned the city of Chicago. It says Aaron Rodgers, he played for the Packers and owned them with a record of 24-5 against Chicago. It says he said he really owns the Bears with his play, and he does. Rodgers certainly backed it up with his words. Now it's time for Caleb Williams to back up his words and actions by, again, throwing his hands up in the air, chanting, Green Bay sucks, all of that stuff. So what do the Packers have to look forward to when we start talking about looking ahead to this year's, just schedule? We're going to have to wait until week 11, which I'm super bummed about. Packers are going to be going to Soldier Field, which money line odds right now, the Packers are negative 112-point favorites. Their money line odds on the road. And then at Lambeau Field, they are negative 170 money line odds. So the Packers certainly the favored to win. But at Lambeau, if you didn't know, just reminiscent of last season, a win and in type situation for the Packers. The Bears couldn't keep the Packers out of the playoffs like that the Lions were able to do the year before in that win and in type situation. The Packers win, they get in. You know what they do after that. They go and beat Dallas. They go and nearly beat San Francisco on the road. And then I feel very confidently that we would have had the upper hand on the Lions, and we were just one game away from making the Super Bowl. So the Packers obviously have much to look forward to, but man, oh man, the Bears making it so easy for Green Bay to yet again have a certificate of ownership. You might as well throw Love's name on that thing, because I do not see the Packers losing to Chicago this season. I think it is hilarious. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Are you loving this as much as I am? To me, I keep bring it, bring it, bring it. Bears fans, Bears players, continue talking that trash, because again, year after year, we've already had 5 years of sweeps. We're going to make it 6. Go Pack, go.